And Stacy Ann and Vamaj, if you would like to be counted as present, then we need to have video on. And Stacy Ann, you're muted if you're saying something, but you have a doctor's excuse?
Oh. Yes, I am not feeling well. I'm
Yeah.
going tomorrow.
So that means that we can count you for quorum, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
As you know, my hip, I have a real hip issue for the moment. And plus, I'm not feeling well.
Yeah. Well, as long as you got an excuse, it doesn't matter to me what it is.
Thank
Well,
you.
it has to be disability based to count towards quorum. So, which is what you just established, but just want to make sure everybody's clear on that.
Thanks, Jeremy.
But it is recording, so when you're ready.
All right, we will call the meeting to order. It's 7:05. Start with introductions. I am Ryan Barthel, the chair of this committee.
Dwayne Williams, a member of the committee.
And then our committee members online.
I am Stacy and Delian, the co-chair of the Budget and Priority Committee.
And I am Demise Nasser.
Nice to meet
And
you.
I'm Cynthia.
Nice to meet you too.
Hi, I'm Maddie. I'm the intern / fellow from FCNY.
All right. So we don't have meeting minutes. Is that correct? I thought that I don't see them linked on here. Are they published, Jeremy?
What's that?
Were the meeting minutes published? I don't see the link on here.
Yeah, I'm not going to be. I'm not going to. Well.
Yeah, no, it's no problem. I thought I saw.
You have Chrome open?
Sorry.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, if you have Chrome open, because again, I'm going to be giving you guys less so we can actually, so you guys can help me make sure that it looks right, it is right on the website. Because just like any member of the public that would go there, because sometimes there's too much of this, like, yeah, I can explain further if necessary, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, no problem. I expected them to be linked on the agenda, and that's where I was looking. That's all.
Oh, okay. So
Yep.
You have Chrome open or some browser?
Yeah, I'm just going to share it.
Should be September or October.
Yep. So I have September pulled up here. Has everyone had a chance to look through them? And you all, this will be committee members. Do you need a moment to look through them, or?
Well, I'll tell you right now, one error I see the tab, it says full board agenda. That's obviously not, that's wrong. So I got to correct that.
Okay. Okay, that's September. Okay, if I go on to October. And these are available on the website, just under the minutes tab under September 2024 and October 2024. And here's October with the same header error, but everything else looks okay to me. All right.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys approve these, obviously, when I take off the draft watermark, I'll update the error. Or correct
Okay.
the error.
Should I wait until motions to motion to approve them or do them here?
Yeah, that's, I mean, you don't have to wait, but my advice is, yeah, you're right. My recommendation is, yeah, you do wait.
Okay, we'll do that. Next order of business is, we had an error on our list of membership before. So for September and October, we did not have quorum and could not vote on a committee chair. So next order of business is the committee chair election. Since I'm already doing it, I'll nominate myself to be the chair.
Second that.
Anyone opposed? Abstain? That passes. And Jeremy, let me know if, oh, go ahead.
I nominate myself as the co-chair.
So we actually don't have to do co-chair nominations. The chair
Oh.
can appoint, so I will appoint you co-chair, Stacey Ann, and we'll keep going as we've been.
Thanks.
Yeah. The next order of business is the draft fiscal year 2026 community district needs statement. As I mentioned at the full board, there were some errors in the process this time. Those have been, so sorry. We have, I hope that they will be better next time and we will not make the same errors next year. Identified some ways to try and ensure that that doesn't happen. So it's quite long. I don't remember, 8 pages, so we're not going to go over it in great detail. Folks from the public will go to the gallery session after the committee members have a chance to speak on it. And yeah, so we'll just, listen, the overview part, does anyone have anything they'd like to bring up on this? Anything that they feel should be changed? I don't know that we can make changes. I can still access the portal, but I don't know that I don't know that changes that I make will be saved. My assumption is that they've already downloaded our responses since they were due 10/31. But any comments would be welcome.
I think it was great, but moving forward, as you said at the full board meeting, we like start from April, I guess. I think that was a great idea.
Okay, we will be sure to implement that this year. Because it would be better, like, to have the committees who deal with these things. Healthcare and human services, I only touch that so much. There's very little that I can really say on it, so. So healthcare and human services, we'll pass that on to, I don't remember the committee name precisely, but our healthcare committee.
Health and Social Services.
Health and Social Services, that's it. It's right there on the side. Yes, I'll pass that to Health and Social Services. Does anyone have any comments on this one? Next area is youth education and child welfare, which we'll send to Education, Culture, and Youth Services in the spring to get their input. And any thoughts on this?
Have you gotten any input from each one of these respective committees, or you've just done the best effort to capture the needs?
Just the best effort, yeah. if you remember, it may not, it's been a while. Last year in October, at our October full board, it was Malcolm and Serena motion that we should have a deadline of June 30th or something like that to get all of the requests and also to hear back from the committees about their respective areas. And we got no feedback from any of the committees. So I'm hoping that sending what's already been written and asking them for edits or thoughts will generate a better response than just saying, tell me what you think. So give them something to start from anyway.
Somewhat of a baseline.
Exactly, yeah. And if they don't like it, delete it all, put in what they think is important, but just something to, if they don't like it, that's even better because then they have something to say on it. Well, maybe not better, but all right. Moving on, next one, public safety and emergency services. We'll obviously go to public safety. Any comments on this one? Okay. Next one, core infrastructure, city services, and resiliency. That one might have to be split. I feel like that one's kind of sanitation. Well, yeah, because infrastructure, the transportation comes in later. Roads are kind of like that, but this is more. So this one will go to sanitation, environmental protection. Any thoughts on this section? And I apologize if someone had their hand raised. I did not have the participants panel open, so looks like no one does right now, but also feel free to speak up. Hearing nothing, housing, economic development, and land use are three separate committees for us, although we'll have to work together to come up with something. Does anyone have any thoughts on this one? Next is transportation and mobility, which will obviously go to transportation. And any thoughts here? All right. And what I believe is the last one is parks, cultural, and other community facilities, which we will send to Parks and Recreation. Are there any thoughts on this section?
What point do we find out what portions of this proposal has been accepted or is going to be accepted?
I don't remember the exact timeline. I know it moves fairly quickly. So there's this section, and then there's also the district needs, and I didn't find a way to export the requests. Sorry, the capital and expense requests. Requests are things, and expense requests are generally headcount ongoing expenses. I did not find a way to export that. They'll all show up in I believe it's the preliminary budget. I think that comes out in March. But they all show up, every community boards, and then they're grouped by community board. So Bronx Park East Community Association sent some requests in. We had a couple of requests from the library. And there were a couple of board members who submitted requests. And at our public hearing in September, we had a couple of other requests, but generally there were not a whole lot of new requests for this year. I want to say it was about 20 of each capital and expense. And the city did a study recently where they looked at the effectiveness of this document and this process. And what they found is that so each of these requests get sent to an agency. You have to go in and, somewhere in here it talks a little bit about it. Like this park care and maintenance, there's a drop down for, it'll say parks and then a specific sub area within parks, and that'll send it to the appropriate agency. That agency has to send a response by, I want to say it can't have been June, Serena was doing it.
It was as early as January or February.
For the preliminary budget or the response? Or both? Yeah, okay. But I remember it having moved quickly, so that's with that memory anyway. But the problem with that is so often they just send a selection of kind of pre-made responses that the agency agrees with this request, but we don't have the funds at the time. This can't be supported under existing. They've just got 2 or 3 sort of stock answers that they send back. I believe that the intent with the study on this was to try and enhance that, to try and make it a little bit better, to encourage the agencies to provide more substantive responses. We'll see if that happens. So. Okay, so that was our needs statement. When we get down to the motions, we'll vote to approve it. But before that, we have the gallery session. No one registered beforehand, but we do have one person in person and a few online. Diana, would you like to speak in the gallery?
Sure. Over the past year, I had the opportunity a few times to see some other community board lists of requests, and also one community board Parks Committee meeting where they went over in detail and discussed their proposed requests for the year. And I think that Community Board 11 should feel a sense of competition here, because I have to say our requests were pitiful compared to other community boards throughout the city. And I think that every committee should be mandated to have at least one, but maybe 2 meetings where they announce in advance, we're going to come up with our budget requests at this meeting. Please attend if you have one for us. And then they have a second meeting, perhaps, where they go over it, they've written up their budget requests and go over them in detail before they finalize them. I just think that's so important. It's like a critical element of what a community board does. And to have so few requests and, just very brief ones. I was curious to know if requests that hadn't been met were rolled over from the previous year. And also, there were a couple data dumps by the city that kind of came a little too late for this cycle, but there's the Vital Parks Initiative, which is filled with data about the parks throughout the district, parks and playgrounds, to show where things are inequitable, which parks and playgrounds need more attention, which areas need more playgrounds, more parks. And then a lot of the data from that came out from a map of the entire city on environmental equity that measured all sorts of environmental factors. So I think that if the community board could access that data for this coming cycle, because it's an amazing amount of data and it's really detailed. And I would say traffic enforcement, including of the bike lanes, is important. I know that we want more inspections from the Department of Buildings and from the rat prevention guy. And I was curious about the population increase numbers, because it said that from 2010 to 2020, the district increased by about 6,000 people, but only 50 new dwelling units. And then further in, it said that in terms of age brackets, where did it go? There were 6,000 more people in the oldest age bracket.
Yeah, so,
But it's not the same 6,000 people,
correct.
but I was just curious if they said where the new 6,000 residents came from and what age group they fell into.
Yeah, let's see. We had something before, and I don't remember what it was. Old requests were not rolled over. We were starting from
Okay.
scratch. And these, so the 50 new dwelling units, an average per year, and it has been going up, but there were, I want to say at least half of that time where there were no new dwelling units built in the district. Could be that some were taken down and others were added to replace, but there were no net gain. As far as the population goes, we have basically once young people enter the workforce, they leave here. 18 to about 40, we have decreasing population, relatively small and decreasing. So there are children, not so many. That number seems to be going either steady or a little bit down, depending on the age groups. Do I still have the? If I could remember the website, I would go to it, but I can't remember what it is offhand. But anyway, so like middle ages, young families are leaving the area. That number is going down, and or people are aging out of that group. 20-year-olds obviously aren't aging into 60 in that 10-year time frame, but some people are aging into the older groups. But it seems like we have a net increase in the older ages. Was that was all of it, right? Yeah. Okay.
Any comments on that?
Yeah. Any of our folks online would like to speak in the gallery?
I'll
Hi,
speak.
good night.
You can go ahead.
Hi, good night. I just wanted to know where would I be able to find this the form what you're showing?
It is linked on the agenda.
Okay.
Yep. So that is right here, draft fiscal year 2026. So it's the same agenda where you clicked in to get to the meeting.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Welcome. And
Hi.
Madeline?
Yeah, I'm Maddie. I'm the intern from FCNY, and I was at the last general board meeting. And so I will be currently I'm creating an advisory committee that will help me form a community needs assessment with the goal of updating and creating a resource guide on the website. And yeah, so I'm just interested in seeing kind of what the priorities are in terms of the data side, right? So I had a training from Beta NYC, and they were talking about how to utilize the Open Data website. So if anyone would want, I can try to find those resources and send them over. But I could also, I'm able to reach out to them. Those people there. And that we also had another talk from someone from the census. I think she's one of 25 nationally. And I'm able to reach out to her also if there's any sort of specific advanced searches using the census data. So yeah, I think maybe even that kind of information could be on the website. So that's me.
Thank you. Yeah, the getting into especially like the American Community Survey data and the census is, I used it for a few things in here. It is super interesting, really cool. hard to use sometimes, but very interesting.
May I ask Maddie a question?
Yeah, okay with that.
Maddie, I'm curious what you learned about the Open Data New York, because I've tried to look at it a couple of times with regard to different subjects, but it was so user unfriendly. I just gave up.
Yeah,
Because it seems like they have all the data, this huge amount of data, and it's just presented in a very kind of raw statistical way. And I just couldn't do anything with it.
Yeah, I agree. So there's certain websites that take that data and then make them into other things. Like there's websites that like the community health profiles. So yeah, it is it is super like not user friendly because they make it kind of more so that people can export the data out and then put them into their own programs. But yeah, I can definitely like I think um I think my email is on the last agenda from the board meeting, but if you message me, I can also send it to you and we can talk about that. But yeah, the tough thing about the open data is you search like using based on the way that what data is collected. But then you look for data sets that they've already made and kind of published, but then the titles don't really make sense. So it is pretty confusing.
All right. It's like we have Kay and a friend. Either of you have anything to add, or are we good?
Hi, good evening. It's Kate Cardona. How are you
Hey.
guys?
Doing well, thanks.
I'm sorry I tuned in so late. I was on a meeting with the Met Council. And they're still at it, but I wanted to at least have some time on this meeting. I probably missed the meat and potatoes of what you guys were doing. As far as the young lady, Madeline, who was just talking, I'm not sure. Is that some area of the government she's with, or I'm
She
not?
is an intern working with us, and she's a master's student at Fordham right now.
Oh, okay. Okay, well,
Cool.
welcome aboard.
Thank you. And then something else that was interesting that they talked about that I just remembered is there's a process called FOIL. And if there is data points that are not publicly available, there's a process called the FOIL process that allows you to access it. And that's definitely data that might not be able to be accessed in 2 months. So yeah, yeah, there's several areas that would be useful for also.
I have one more question for her.
Let's see, Kay, did you have anything else, or are you finished?
No, I'm finished. Thank you.
Okay. If you had, go ahead.
Oh, the advisory committee, is that members of the board?
Public.
Okay.
Yeah, it's open to the board, but I'm definitely do not want to only have board members on it. Yeah, that's not going to happen. So if you know anyone that's not on the board that would be interested, but the thing is that people who are not in the advisory committee, I would still try to have them complete the survey once it's made. So the advisory committee is not the only way to participate.
And what's the time commitment for the advisory committee?
I think it's probably going to be pretty minimal. I'm still figuring out like what the delivery is going to be, but I think there probably will be group space held at least once, but I don't think most of my conversations will, or most of it will, I don't really think most of it's going to be a group. I think it's going to be mostly individual. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Great, thank you.
All right, and I see that Fran has his hand up. Afraid if you'd like to go ahead, I see your hand is up.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, now we can.
All right. I believe that there should be more, or if we arrange to have like a workshop, work study group, uh, in time, because there are people that just don't understand, how this process works. I mean, I know how it is, 'cause I've been through it, in numerous, different types of, budgeting, whether it be at my work or job or at other community boards throughout the last like 35, 40 years. I've seen how it is, but the most knowledgeable people are the ones that actually understand what it is. It's not just coming to a committee meeting and then voting on things. I think before the committee is going to get to that point, I believe that there should be, and maybe it could be arranged during the summer or something that you can do that next year so that people can actually understand what entails the budgeting process. And I have to agree with Diana Finch and what she said. The community board, there has to be more implementation from the community on the needs. And that's going to be through discussions. That's going to be through communication. And that's got to be preparation before that process. And you said 10/31 was the day it had to be filed. So then I would say that now, to prepare for next year, that has to be done now. It can't just be that, you're going to discuss it or whatever after the fact. It's going to have to be more because I don't see much coming out from this community board on that. That means that it's going to have to come from various parts of the district. And that's going to be a task that will have to be done. And I'm pretty sure that the board office will have to maybe see if they could give some time for people to have meetings because it is helpful. So that's all I have to say. And have a happy Thanksgiving to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. You too. Anyone else in the gallery like to speak? If not, we will move on to motions. We have two this evening. First, I will move to approve the minutes as written with the change that Jeremy identified on the header.
Second.
I second that.
Anyone opposed? Abstain? All right, that passes. Our second motion, even though it's kind of a moot point now because it has already been sent in, move to approve the need statement as written.
I'll second that.
I'll second that. Oh, sorry.
All right, anyone opposed? Abstaining? All right, so both of them passed unanimously. Under old business, we just have the Juneteenth event thank you letters. And have any more of those gone out, Stacey Ann, that you know of, or are we still waiting on those?
We're still waiting on those, but it should be going out shortly.
Okay. Does anyone have any new business to present? All right, hearing nothing, I move that we close the meeting.
Yes.
All right.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Happy
Thank you, Kate.
Thanksgiving, everyone.
Meeting is closed at 7:39. Happy Thanksgiving and have a good evening, everyone.
Have a
Thank
good
you. Good night.
Now, Diana, do you know of anyone within the community board that you mentioned earlier that